Welcome to episode 2 of Girls Who Bet. I am so sorry that we made you wait. We are seeing your comments below. I'm Erin Dolan, joined by the fabulous co-host, Liv Moods. How are you doing, Liv?
I am doing fantastic. I am super stoked about episode 2. I feel like episode 1 was a blast last week, but I'm ready for episode 2. I'm excited.
I know, me too. I feel like there's nothing else in the world that's going on in terms of sports in my mind besides the NFL. Do you agree?
100%. And I actually tweeted out, I said, I didn't know that people still watched baseball once the NFL started. And people did not take that comment very well. Lots of keyboard warriors coming out of the woods, typing away. It was very strongly disliked by quite a few baseball fans. But in my opinion, once the NFL starts, it's all I can think about. I literally can't think about anything else. So sorry if that hurt your feelings, but it's just the truth. Sorry.
Baseball is not going on in my mind anymore, but we
No.
need to get into NFL. We want to answer any of your questions in the chat right now. Throw them in. What did you win on? Which team messed you up? Liv and I are going to go through our bets. We had placed our week 1 recap of the bets that we had talked about and also the bets that we had tweeted about. So we're going to go through Liv's first. But guys, let us know. What did you win on? What did you lose on? We're so interested in this.
Yeah, drop it in the chat and we'll be sure to either give you a shout out or cry with you because we all lose. It is what it is. I'll start with my loss. I did have a same game parlay for Thursday night football. Thursday night is hard to bet on. It just is. Those games are really tough in general. So automatically I knew it was going to be tough, but either way, I had a same game parlay, didn't hit. I did have Antonio Brown anytime touchdown score that did hit, but of course, because it was in a parlay, it didn't matter. The Bucks did not cover the spread. We'll get into Dallas later. I'm swallowing some words with the Dallas Cowboys.
For them.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a little bit. But other than that, I went 3-0 on Sunday. Cardinals covered the spread. I had the Steelers to cover the spread, and then I took the under in the Broncos-Giants game, so that was cool. And then I also picked the Raiders to cover the spread on Monday night, so that was sick as well. And then I had Kyler Murray anytime touchdown score. That cashed on Sunday as well. So overall, very successful Sunday right out the gates for week 1. But you had a very incredible weekend as well. How was your record?
Yeah, I feel like we were both on fire this weekend, which is an awesome way to start the NFL. But then it also scares me because I'm like, we're going to have to go on a cold streak at some point. But some people were talking. Cody Hanley said, Liv went on a heater, 49ers first half -4.5 with 10 units on it. Easy lock. I won on Eagles money line. Let's go. I tweeted that in the morning. That was an impulsive tweet. I was like, this could go really bad.
Eagles money line was awesome.
Texans money line, that's a way to cash out as well. I still cannot believe that they won by that many points against the Jags. I was not expecting that. But in terms of things that I was able to hit on, San Fran -7.5, Arizona +3, Cincinnati +3, Philly +3.5. Also took Philly, Cincinnati, Miami money line. My Monday Night Football same game parlay hit. That was the Raiders to cover +4.5, Marquise Brown anytime touchdown, and then Derek Carr over 258.5 passing yards. Now, I was texting Liv during the Monday Night Football game, and this was before halftime. I was like, my bet's not going to hit. The same game parlay is dead. And I fell asleep. I woke up in the middle of the night. I had a text from Liv. The same game parlay hit. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for giving me the greatest news ever and having Monday Night Football.
How fair is that? How fair is that? That my my Thursday night football same game parlay falls to crap. This girl, and in her defense, she is on the East Coast. I could not stay up for games if I were on the East Coast. Like, I am lucky. I'm in the mountain. I'm in mountain time zone, so it works out great because they're like, I think that's the perfect time zone for sports because it's not too early, it's not too late. I think it's perfect. But nonetheless, the fact that I got to see her same game parlay cash out and she didn't, it just made me even more mad that hers hit and mine did not. And
it was such a good game that I missed the end of it. That's so unlike me to fall asleep during a game, but I was convinced. I was like, the game's over. It's fine.
I know. Well, it was an intense game. I think we kind of wanted to touch on next, like the surprises of week 1 in the NFL. And I think we might as well just jump right into that Raiders game since we're already talking about it. It was insane. And I really, truly had a feeling from the very beginning that the Raiders were going to cover. I just felt like the Allegiant Stadium full of fans for the first time. I know how Raiders fans... Yeah, we do. We're planning a trip.
To go there. That's the next trip.
Absolutely. But I know how Raiders fans are. As a Denver Broncos fan, I know that they are insane. And now you're putting them in a brand new stadium. And it's like the Raiders, season opener. I just knew that energy was going to be so tough. But I do have to give a little shout out. I love Lamar Jackson. That was a hard game for me to watch just because I was rooting for my bet, but also rooting for a QB that I absolutely love. I would argue Lamar Jackson is probably one of my favorite QBs, just because I think he's really exciting to play. I love watching a QB run the ball. And so it was a tough one for me, but great game by the Raiders. It was like I was a kid getting a Christmas present taken away from me because the touchdown, thought they won. I was jumping around. I was a little tipsy on some wine. I'm not going to lie to you. I was jumping around like
A
a
little
psycho.
Monday Night Football tipsy.
Literally. And then they took the touchdown back. Felt like I got my whole world shattered. And then they got another one and it was all good. But crazy game. Did anyone take Raiders money line? Because if you did,
I see some people talking
shout
about
out.
teams that killed their parlay. Somebody's saying Worldwide Hustle 81. What a name. Washington football team killed my parlay. Now, one of the surprises that I wanted to bring up was, of course, Aaron Rodgers being benched. Now, the Green Bay Packers also ruined Liv's parlay.
7-leg parlay. Odds were plus 9,228. 5 of the 7 legs were underdogs to cover, and one was an under. The one leg that let me down was not only a favorite, but reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, who brought back nearly every starter. Make it make sense. I was disgusted. I was truly, absolutely disgusted.
We had him to win. Well, you had him to win MVP, Aaron Rodgers. I had them to win the Super Bowl. Now I have to reconsider everything. Although this may be an anomaly, this might be just one of those games in Aaron Rodgers' career where he needs to get it together. I don't know what happened, but nonetheless, it was very hard to watch.
Painful.
Yeah, and I was all on the dogs week 1, and for NFC North, there was not one team that won a game this week 1, which was kind of surprising. The other thing, how about the Cardinals? We were both so heavy on the Cardinals. We were like, take them +3. We were on that, so I was proud that we hit that.
That was great. And actually, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, I made a video, and of course, more keyboard warriors coming out saying it's too early. And when I promise you, when I put that video out saying Cardinals +3, people were hot. People were like, no way, Titans are going to run them over. Like, nothing, blah, blah, blah. I have been hot on this Cardinals team since the jump. I think that they are incredible, and they proved me right in game 1. They looked so great. So yeah, you and I both said last episode, Cardinals +3 is the move, and I hope you guys listened. I really, really do, because it was great.
For sure. And later in the show, we're going to get into some of our week 2 best bets. We'll talk a little bit about Thursday Night Football, and then we have a girls who bet best bet. So stay tuned for that. But of course, after all these week 1 surprises, we have to talk about some of the things that we want to make a stance on. So after week 1, if you were to make a stance on something, Liv, what would you make a stance on?
My stance is the Atlanta Falcons will have the number 1 draft pick next year. I think they looked absolutely unprepared, unorganized, and disastrous in game 1. Not to dog on your Eagles, Erin, because I do think they looked good, but they couldn't score a single touchdown up against the Philadelphia Eagles and allowed the Eagles 32 points. Like, that just does not seem correct from this Falcons team. And so I kind of have a question for you that I think will lead me into your stance. Are the Eagles good, or were the Falcons just really, really bad? I would love to know your take. I know it's your team and it's hard to separate the bias of head versus heart, but the Eagles did look good, but the Falcons also looked horrible. So how do you gauge?
The Falcons are terrible.
How do you gauge the Eagles moving forward? I would love to hear your stance.
Okay, so I know that we need to take off my Philadelphia Eagles fan hat at this moment. But last week I did make the case saying that in the NFC East, it's so unpredictable that you might as well go with the long shot, take the Eagles +480. I really was not saying that as an Eagles fan. I know it's hard to believe with the helmet behind me, but I understand it's 1 win. They beat the Falcons 32-6. I know people are going to say I'm overreacting, but I think that the Eagles do indeed win the NFC East. Jalen Hurts, 27 for 35, 264 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, ran for 62 yards. His 77% completion rate is the highest ever on opening day for an Eagles quarterback. Now, Hurts also had 3 career starts with at least 250 passing yards, 60 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. So it's hard for me to not make the case that maybe the Eagles are going to be better than those, expecting them to kind of have a down season, especially under Nick Sirianni, who I doubted. I also doubted the offense. I doubted the defense as well. And I'm a fan. I get it. But holding Matt Ryan to 164 yards passing, they sacked him 3 times. The Falcons are nothing to rave about. They only won 4 games last season. So I understand having them week 1 is easy. But looking at this division, it's unfortunate for the Washington football team. They lost Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to be out at least 8 weeks with that hip injury. Danny Dimes and the Giants, they look mediocre. Now the Cowboys, they did look good in their Thursday night football debut, but will Dak stay healthy? America's team always seems to disappoint America. So I do think that the Eagles, as my stance, will win the NFC East.
Hey, I can't argue with you. You just threw so much information at me that I just can't
so many numbers. It's just
I can't fight
narrating.
you on it though. It all sounded so good, and I really do. Like I said, also got to toot my horn, toot toot. I said last episode that Jalen Reagor was gonna come out
You
and
did.
do some
I
good
doubted
things.
him.
And let me tell you, all I want to say about him is he is fast, but what he has working in his favor that not every fast player can say is he is also big. So not only can he move, but he can also protect himself. So I just think he's got those two working in his favor, and don't be surprised if he's getting touchdowns left and right. That's all I'm saying. Go Horned Frog. Go Jalen Reagor.
But for the past couple of years, we've had so many problems with our wide receivers. But maybe it was Carson Wentz, like I've been saying all along. The man didn't win week 1. So the Eagles have 1 win on the board. The Colts do not. But guys, comment below some of the things that you guys want us to kind of bring up right now. Someone just said, I thought Rodgers would be great too. It's our bias with Rodgers being on McAfee show. I know. I thought they would have chemistry no matter what week 1, and they just didn't. Jags will just lose until they build, like the Cowboys. That's another hot take.
I kind of want to hear people's thoughts too about Aaron Rodgers, because to me, what really seemed like an issue was his attitude. I felt like he, from the beginning of that game, looked checked out. He was disconnected. And I know that may be a hot take to some, and maybe some people are like, no, he just got outplayed or whatever. But I just felt like he was kind of disrespectful. He did not give his team 100%. That was not the Aaron Rodgers that won MVP last season. He just kind of had an attitude about him that he just couldn't care less, and he'd rather be anywhere else. And the struggle that I have with that is these players make so much money, and your job is to show up and play the game that you know how to play. Do your job. And I felt like he didn't do that. He had a decision to make. He chose to accept the deal and return to Green Bay. And I felt like he came out in week 1 with a really bad attitude. And that was just not a great way for him to start the season. And I don't know, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I thought it was an attitude issue. I really do. I think that his attitude was wrong and he was checked out. And when you're making that kind of money, check in and do your job, period.
My thoughts on Aaron Rodgers is I agree with you on the area where you're saying he is disrespectful. And I think that what aired before that game did not help his case, where he basically kind of talked about the organization, how it's been 10 years of doing this. He sat down with Aaron Andrews. If you haven't seen that clip, you can watch it on YouTube. And the one thing that he mentioned was that basically the Packers drafted a quarterback. So if you drafted him, good luck and go with him. Whereas in my head, I'm thinking, of course, they're going to need a backup at some point. You're also 37 years old. You're about to be 38. So God forbid something happens to you and you become injured. They have to have a backup plan. I don't know why he's taking that so personally that they drafted Jordan Love. You've been in this game forever. Every team has a backup. I mean, obviously there's more to it since he's talking about over the last 10 years, all these issues that they're having. You had the choice to retire. Instead, in the offseason, we're seeing pictures surfacing of you having fun with, I think he actually did end up marrying that one. I'm blanking on her name right now.
She's from Shailene Woodley.
Yes. Did he end up actually marrying her and just getting engaged?
I know that they were engaged. I'm sure they had some secret wedding in Hawaii.
Most likely. But nonetheless, he was checked out. It looked like he was checked out. And if I was on that team, I'd be very disappointed. And that was the leader. And coming off a regular season MVP, where I think he brought in this cockiness in the season, like, we'll be fine. I'll show up last minute. And that was a beatdown. That wasn't, hey, we lost by 10 points. Like, that was brutal to watch. And speaking of the Saints, we should now just talk about them. And you guys can comment below if you think that Jameis Winston, if this is an overreaction, but he looked awesome.
He did
I
look
was
awesome.
shocked.
I know you're going to kind of jump in on the offensive rookie of the year, kind of debuts and how the
Mhm.
lines have changed in the rookie side of the QB debuts. But yeah, Winston looked awesome. And to be honest with you, I absolutely doubted him. And maybe that was the bias of knowing that I was betting on the Packers in week 1 and that I had so much faith in Aaron Rodgers, so much so that I sprinkled some money on him in the futures market to be MVP again. Whatever the case, Jameis Winston absolutely surprised me. And I have to give a quick shout out because my brother, he warned me. He told me Winston is going to come out and he is going to shock people. And I was like, dude, please come
Yeah,
on. He's
good
going
luck.
up against the Packers, whatever. Winston had 5 touchdowns on only 21 attempts. He looked awesome. And obviously, was he going up against a Packers team that was playing full 100%, giving their effort? I don't know. We'll never know that, to be honest with you. I don't think that they were giving their full effort. But either way, he looked great. He absolutely surprised me. But I think
Mhm.
this Saints team has a great QB in Winston. For week 1 to go up against a team like the Packers, it's a lot of pressure. And he looked
Yeah.
awesome. I think he played well. That was probably my biggest QB surprise. Maybe
Mhm.
because it hurt my parlay so bad, or maybe because he genuinely just looked really good. But I thought he
I
looked
thought this was a
awesome.
trap game from the beginning. I had gone on a show Sunday, a Q&A through FanDuel, and I was like, this is the one game I'm staying away from because I thought the Packers line should have been a lot longer against the Saints. And luckily, I did not bet on that game. But a couple people in the chat kind of talking about how they're surprised that
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers didn't just retire after that game. Some people saying I'm
Yeah.
skeptical of Winston. Would you take Winston MVP if he keeps playing the way he's playing? That would be an interesting take.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great question. I just think I may need to see him again, up, maybe a couple more weeks of playing, but from what I saw in week 1, he definitely caught my eye in a good way. So, maybe some futures bets on Winston, but I need to see him one more time first and then I'll sprinkle some money.
Yeah. Speaking
But
of futures
you
bets,
I
offensive
was going to
rookie of the
say,
year. We gotta talk about some of these quarterbacks. So
yep.
Mac Jones moves to the favorite plus 350, Trevor Lawrence plus 500, Trey Lance plus 500, Fields 750, Wilson 750. All these available right now in the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, Mac Jones switches to the favorite over Trevor Lawrence, which isn't surprising considering how bad Trevor Lawrence looked. Out
Yep.
of all the quarterbacks this weekend, I will agree that Mac Jones, a starting quarterback, I should say, looked the best out of the 3, but you can make the case of the issues that are surrounding each one of these quarterbacks. I still
Yep.
stand by Justin Fields in my pick for this market. I know that you maybe have a different take. I know Trey Lance is also, you can make the argument for him as well. But I just think it's kind of shocking that no rookie quarterback that started won a game. And then Trey Lance comes in, he scores a touchdown, 1 of 1. Justin Fields ends up getting a rushing touchdown when he came in. I thought they would keep him in a little bit longer considering
I
how
do too.
bad Andy Dalton played. But last week we had said, when is Justin Fields going to become the main starter? You said week 2, I believe, and I said week 4. But
Yeah.
I think you might be. I don't think he's going to start week 2, but he should be. He looked great compared to
He
Andy
did.
Dalton. I mean, we didn't
He
see many
did.
plays, but still.
No, I think he looked awesome. I will say not a huge shock that Mac Jones is the number 1 spot. I think he's just in a good position. He's a lot working in his favor.
Mhm.
He's got a really strong O line, which to any QB is kind of a dream come true. He made some impressive throws. I don't think he really let the pressure get to him being a
Mhm.
full-time starter and
Agreed.
stepping into this Patriots team, which we said last week. He's got to have confidence. That's the one thing Mac Jones
And he
absolutely
did.
has to have. And he did. He really looked, if I were watching that, not having any background information, I wouldn't have thought he was a rookie. I don't think he played outstanding, football as a QB, but he didn't look bad. He didn't really make any
Mhm.
mistakes and he made really impressive throws and didn't let the pressure get to him. And I think he was confident. And so not necessarily surprised that he's in that number 1 spot and he's the favorite now for that offensive rookie of the year
Mhm.
bet. But week 2 will be telling. I also think that the Patriots, once they start playing harder teams, it may be a little different for Mac
Mhm.
Jones. And I'm with you. Justin Fields needs more playing time. He looked great for the very small amount of time that we saw him. I also want to see Trey Lance more. I don't think he played enough as well.
Jimmy
But
G dropping the ball that first play. I was like, he's coming in. Trey
I
Lance.
was like,
He's going to
put
step in
put
next
in
play.
Lance. That's it. Put in Lance. We're done. It's a wrap.
And then
No,
for
but I
the
will
Jets, I
say,
mean, Wilson was sacked 6 times, which was just so unfortunate.
poor guy. You gotta
Poor
really,
guy.
you gotta
First
feel
first
sad for him.
NFL game like that. Like it's just
Ouch.
that's
Wow.
Talk
I
about
know
getting
for
sore after games.
I was gonna say, I know for a fact he was in the ice bath for about 3 days, for sure.
But yeah,
Najee
we're
is a
gonna see them
value for
actually play each other, the Patriots and the Jets. So that's gonna be a good
yeah.
game this weekend. Kind of see where they shape up.
Someone said Najee is the value for rookie of the year. That is my choice. I actually took his over 58 and a half rushing yards in the Steelers Bills game. Didn't hit. But I think that game was just, I mean, that was a weird football game. I low key felt like I was watching high school football for a bit because I was like, where's the energy? What's happening here? It just felt dull for a little bit there. And so yeah, I think Najee is definitely I have him as my rookie of the year, so hopefully he picks it up a little bit. I think he's definitely going to bring the run game back to the Steelers. Um
I know some people are
how
asking
about
about
Teddy
Devonta Smith.
Bridgewater? Broncos QB Teddy Bridgewater. Let me tell you something.
Give your take. Go for it.
He didn't, as a Denver Broncos fan, I had zero negative things to say about Teddy Bridgewater. Zero. The only people that I need to have a conversation with are his receivers. Okay. There were a couple moments there where I was like, you guys, I mean, he had the ball in their hands just about every time he threw it. The receivers are the ones that need to figure it out and get with it because the word that I have for Teddy Bridgewater right now is fighter. He didn't go down without a fight. He was just finding every opportunity to get the ball in the receiver's hands. And the receivers were the ones that had their eyes closed, I think, for the first half of the game, to be honest with you. But wow, Teddy Bridgewater looked incredible. I think he was absolutely the right decision for the Denver Broncos. I don't think Drew Lock would have been able to win that game. So shout out to Bridgewater. I am stoked to watch him. Fingers crossed we get him healthy because I know he's battled health issues for a long time. So if we can get a healthy Teddy, please, I am pumped.
Yeah.
Pumped.
Imagine if you had had Aaron Rodgers and all that drama and he had come to the Denver Broncos and then played the way he played in week 1. I think you guys would be very.
I would riot. I would riot outside.
Somebody actually, just quickly want to address someone that said, I think that says geek hippie. I'm sorry. My eyes are getting worse and worse ever since NFL week 1 started. I've been staring at screens. Fields will start the 4th game with Detroit. I agree with
that's what you said. I like that. Someone said, didn't Bridgewater lead in QBR this week? Yes, he did. He did
That's awesome.
indeed.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
No, he looked great. Like I was so thrilled. And to be honest with you, another thing as a Broncos fan, nothing says NFL Sunday like a Von Miller sack. I'm sorry. It's just how I feel. And to see him back out there after that horrible injury last season, it's just like it's electric. I am loving it. I'm loving
that
it.
made your Sunday. My Sunday was seeing Devonta Smith be able to score a touchdown. That was awesome. Somebody, Andrew, I shouldn't keep saying somebody, Andrew Full. I'm sorry if I mess up your names again. I'm having trouble seeing it. Jags money line this week. We will get into our picks towards the end of the show, but now we want to switch it over to our little segment called Would You Rather? So, of course, this Monday, a lot of people were talking about the Met Gala. I know this is not NFL, but we have to talk about it because it kind of relates to it. So at the Met Gala, every year there's a theme. This one was In America, a lexicon of fashion, whatever that means. But we have to talk about basically. Sierra shows up in a green dress. Number 3, she's got the Super Bowl ring on from her husband, Russell Wilson. I think she stole the show. I may be biased because I love sports so much, but I think hers was so different.
Goosebumps. I just got goosebumps thinking about it.
Look at her.
God, she's incredible.
She's gorgeous. Like
she is
drop dead gorgeous. But I need to ask you, would you rather go to the Met Ball in something like this, something that you like absolutely love, something that relates to you, or go a more artistic way depending on the theme?
Oh, absolutely go with what she rocked with. Here's the deal. Not only is she drop dead gorgeous, so she's making a statement regardless. She could wear a tarp and she would make a statement, okay? She's stunning. Now you're flexing your husband, you're flexing your marriage, you're flexing the fact that not only are you successful, but your husband is successful. She was flexing on every person in that place. She's like, listen, I know my husband can't be here with me, but here he is. Check it out. Here's his suit. I mean, she was flexing on everybody. So I thought what she did was by far the best out of the entire Met Gala. I would so much rather do something like that than be all fancy because, like I said, she would look good in whatever. So that is not up for discussion. I mean, she would look good in whatever. But the fact that she flexed her relationship and her marriage and another huge part of her life was a money move. I mean, she killed it. She
Yeah.
absolutely killed it.
And Peyton Manning had actually joked about this on the Monday Night Football. I guess that little show they're doing on ESPN where it's the second broadcast, saying she's got a ring that I wanted, I didn't get it. And I thought that was so funny because this obviously caught the attention of everybody in the sports world that she
Oh,
showed up in this. She had the little football purse as well. If I was married to somebody like Wilson who has a ring like that, like it was just so, I would have never thought to do that. That's why I
no.
think it's so crazy compared to some of the other people. We can make arguments. I know everyone's talking about Kim K. I know you have some takes on that.
So when I first saw Kim Kardashian dressed in those Halloween costumes, my brother wore one in middle school. It's like the thing that just like it's like tights on your whole body. I mean, that's what she was basically wearing with
Oh
a
my
long
gosh, yes.
ponytail.
People would, when we were in grade school, everyone had the different
Yes,
colors and they'd run around. You never know who
yes,
it was, and you'd see them on Halloween, like come
yes.
out of the bushes.
That's
I know
what she
exactly
looked
what you're
like.
talking about. They look
She
like
I
those
mean,
things that whip in the wind outside of
yes,
cars.
out of car dealerships,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
So literally, I saw this initially and I was like, "Kim, come on. I could make that outfit." First of all, you probably spent over $1 million on that outfit and I could get everything that you're wearing on Amazon right now for 40 bucks, okay? So right off the bat, I'm like, "Here we go with Kim doing the most when she shouldn't be doing the most." Like, come on. But I came across a TikTok. What the TikTok talked about is basically the theme was American.
Mhm.
And what the TikTok was basically saying is that Kim dressed in something and you couldn't see her face. So technically you couldn't tell it was her. She never showed her face at the Met
Maybe it
Gala,
wasn't.
but you knew it was her because of her body, right? And so the message behind it was America puts so much pressure on these celebrities that they're so like you don't know Kim's
Mm.
personality, you
That's
don't know
actually, I
who
didn't
she
know
is.
that.
And so
Interesting
it was
story.
kind of a deeper level of kind of like American society has put so much emphasis and importance on body and
It's true.
appearance that she didn't even show her face and you're like, "Hey Kim, what's going on?" Another thing, the guy that stood with her that was standing like Kanye and whatever was not Kanye West. It was the designer. So the other part of that is you didn't even see who that man was and immediately all of America was like, "Oh, Kanye and Kim on the taking pictures at the Met Gala together." It wasn't Kanye West. So I think the message behind it was we put so much emphasis on looks and like
Hmm.
body and all these different things that we don't know who they are on the inside as people. And so
Hmm.
that kind of changed how I felt about her outfit, to be honest with you. That I saw that TikTok and I was like, wow, okay, actually, that's kind of deep. And that really does have a pretty important message behind it. Do I still think she should have just worn a sparkly dress? Yes, but whatever. It's not my business.
Kendall Jenner stole the show for the sparkly dresses,
Holy
but
mother. And someone else also brought up Megan Fox won the night, though. We were talking about this pre show. Megan Fox, not only at the Met
I think
Gala, but
she's
at the
no. It was the
VMA.
VMAs for her. It was the VMAs for her. She absolutely just stunted on
Oh
every single person, bringing back memories of all the old movies she was in. She looks better
God,
with
she was
age. I don't
incredible.
know how that happens, and I hope one day that I, at her age, am able to look semi decent. Like she is just
Erin,
stunning.
I know how it happens. It's a whole lot of this and maybe a little bit
I
of
know
this.
there's a lot of injections, but the one
Yeah.
last thing I wanted to comment with the Kim K thing is I feel like that meeting would have been more had she shown up to the Met Gala and just done that. But considering she was constantly going to these Donda shows, I believe they were in Chicago,
Yeah.
in the same outfit, I was kind of maybe the meaning kind of got tarnished just a tad, but it is a cool meeting. I know somebody, Ravi Patel, saying Sierra killed that. Thank you. Yes, she did. Um, out of cream. I don't even know what that means,
Yeah. Why
Mr.
did Conor
Scampers.
McGregor? Billy said, "Why did Conor
No one, I
McGregor want to
can't. I
fight?"
tried to figure that out. Why does Conor McGregor want to fight Machine Gun Kelly? Because that,
So,
unfortunately, he'd be knocked out in 2 seconds.
oh yeah. So
Machine Gun
I
Kelly.
actually I actually saw something. And I don't know if this is truth or not, but to be honest with you, if it is, I think MGK is a savage and I love him. But apparently Conor McGregor asked MGK for a picture and MGK responded and said no. Conor
Maybe
McGregor
because he
got
didn't
very
want Conor in a picture with Megan Fox, which I don't blame him, but
and Conor McGregor got very upset by that and then started to say, I don't even know who this punk is. Like, who does he think he is? Well, dude, you asked him for a picture. Obviously, you know who he is. And then that's when he threw the drink and wanted to, start a fight and whatever. But if that story is true and MGK told Conor
so
McGregor
much drama in
take a hike
sports
when he asked
merging
for a
with
picture,
celebrities.
that would be epic. But nonetheless, Conor McGregor, quit trying to be relevant. Like, come on, just knock it
Yeah.
off. It's not even
And
worth
also,
it.
the last thing we'll say about the Met Gala is Aisha Curry and Steph Curry, they
Oh,
looked phenomenal as well. Phenomenal.
stunning.
We should have
Yes, they
seen
did.
Devin Booker with Kendall Jenner. Where was
Yeah,
he?
where was he? Where was he?
That would have been
Because
iconic. I really do like them together.
Kendall looked incredible. Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
we're
Met
going to switch
Gala.
over now to an article that somebody had sent to me, and it was quite interesting. And I just want to preface what we're going to talk about here. It was called "Are Women Better at Sports Betting Than Men" by Derek Helling. Me and Liv, I just want to say this again. We are not saying we agree or disagree. It was just an interesting article that somebody had said to me. We wanted to bring up some of the points that we read in the article. It was taken from data from January of 2021, and it was only in one geographical location. So we are not agreeing, disagreeing. We just wanted to bring up some of the points that we read
It was
that
just
we
very
thought were
interesting. It was interesting because we had never really thought about it, and this
Yeah.
article had data to back up some interesting points, and I actually agreed with some of them. I'm not even gonna lie, but we'll get into it. And yeah, it was just interesting, so we'll just jump into that. But do you want to
So the
start
first
with
topic, was just women win more, men typically lose. That was the first topic.
And they basically said that since January, women saw a return on investment nearly 20% on their placed bets, while males, on the other hand, saw an average loss of almost 5%. Very big difference there, but the article proceeded to talk about maybe why that is happening. And one of the points that I absolutely agreed with was it basically was talking about how women are less likely to have an emotional attachment to a team, to a player, to sports in general. Obviously, you're looking at two girls where that is not the case. We definitely have emotional attachments to sports, but because of society and kind of the way that sports have typically been, the male thing to be interested in and not typically the women, which again, you're looking at two women that are totally changing that, because that's so not true when it comes to how much I love sports. But the article basically talked about that because society has put so much emphasis on men being involved in sports, men have grown a very emotional attachment, which kind of leads to the betting with your heart and not your head. So I actually did agree with that because I was like, listen, while women are very emotional in a lot of aspects of life, when it comes to sports, we can probably disconnect a little easier than men. So I actually thought that part of the article was accurate, and it was interesting how they tied that into the return on investment and the numbers that were shown. Again, not saying that we are better betters than the people that are sitting in this chat right now or anyone else, but very interesting points that the article brought up that I thought were interesting.
Yeah, another point that was interesting was that women are more selective with their bets since they spend more time and money on other things, meaning that instead of maybe I can only go off my personal experience as a 25-year-old female. My friends, while they love their college teams, when we go out to a bar and we are watching the games and thinking of the lines, they maybe don't know who the quarterback is or something of that nature. And I'm talking collectively just my group of friends. So I understand the societal norms of growing up, maybe women do dance first and then kind of get into sports. This is just, again, how I grew up. But I think what their point they're trying to make is that since maybe they don't bet as much as guys and kind of fire bets, they're able to be more selective on something they actually want to put their money on.
Yes.
But for me, when I'm out with my girlfriends, they're not betting, to be quite frank. They're not holding their phones up and betting. I'm always telling them when we do a spread the love promotion for FanDuel or something like that. But I think that is more so the takeaway from saying the betting with their head and not their heart.
Yes.
But, and also we're talking about the attachment of teams. I think for me, I kind of talked about this before, where I was born and raised, you kind of grow up, you're just a Philadelphia sports fan. And I kind of always thought that's wherever you were born, that was your sports teams. I know some people feel differently and they pick and choose, but I feel like men for certain, they're like super crazy into their teams.
No,
you can't change their minds.
It's like die hard for sure. And going off back to your point of like prioritizing spending, I am not making a generalization because I know that there are some men out there that get the manicures. Okay. Shout out to you because you should be getting your cuticles clipped down and your toes done for sure. But I have a lot of extra little expenses. And are they needs? No, but they're wants. So I get asked a lot of the time, what's your unit size? I'm very transparent. I think the best thing you can be in this industry is honest and transparent. My units are $10, and I really, really tried not to exceed that. Why? Because I'm going in my head, I have a nail appointment next week. I have a hair appointment next week. I have the pair of shoes I want to buy. I have all these different things to keep up with my eyelashes. I mean, all these different things that I know I want to prioritize in terms of spending. I think about those things. So for me,
Mhm.
$10 units is just the smart thing to do. Whereas somebody else who maybe doesn't have to think about all the things that all the appointments that they have next week,
Expensive.
they can have $100 unit and it's not as big of a deal. For me, $10 units is what I stick to. So I think that's another thing with this
Mhm.
article was just talking about prioritizing spending and where women typically spend their money. And
Mhm.
societally, women don't typically spend money on
I
betting.
mean,
So
it is expensive to be a female. I just was saying to Liv before this. I went and got my hair. I got a few highlights. I got a cut. I went with left with wet hair, and it was 280. Then I went and got my nails done. It was an easy 70. So somebody just commented, Andrew, the theory in stocks is men are more aggressive than women, therefore women are more conservative investors and gain more long term. That's an interesting way to maybe equate that psychology into betting as well.
of course. Alex said, women much smarter with money. Haha. And that kind of leads me. Andrew made another comment that said, I don't know why you even bother with $10 at that point. Um, to me,
I disagree with that very
to
much.
me it's just it's holding myself accountable because I know that if like coming off of Sunday, when you're on a hot streak, you feel
Like you were on top of the
invincible.
world.
But guess what? You know that here in a few weeks, maybe even a few days, that hot streak eventually is going to end. No one stays undefeated for long. So
Mhm.
if I start getting too comfortable with that feeling and start upping my unit size, now I'm down more money than I would have been if I just put the $10 down. So I am super against unit shaming and betting. How I choose to spend my money is totally my business. I'm just
Mhm.
transparent about how much I put down because I don't want people
Yeah.
to think that I'm out there throwing money like left and right. Like $10 for me is enough. And if anything, I think what I prioritize more than even the money that I put down on the bet is just the content that I create and sharing bets with other people and helping them cash out.
Mhm.
If you think my $10 unit
Yeah.
is small, take my bet if you like it and then put your own unit on it. And if that's $100 or $1,000, good for you. But I'm sticking to 10 and I'm cool with that. So
It's funny you bring this up because somebody today had commented on one of my photos who I guess is a professional bettor to some capacity. And he had commented saying that I haven't heard about you in Vegas for the last 10 years. I just moved to Philly, all this stuff. And I commented back and I was like, hey, just so you know, like I'm a content creator. I work in mass media. I do bet, but my job is not to basically post my bet slips of spending thousands of dollars on bets. That's not what I do it for. So you make a great point. Never unit shame. I think that's important. Last thing I want to say really quickly about this article, are younger women better than older women? It was saying that in this sample, the best bettors were between 35 and 44, seeing 130% return on investment. Ages 25 to 34 saw 127% on investment. There is a gap generationally. I think my biggest takeaway from that is obviously the legalization that has just happened. Maybe older
yep.
generations are just accustomed to maybe people, honestly, let's be honest, having their husbands be with a bookie or something. There's also a stigma that was around it that we still kind of have in terms of betting on things. So I think over time, obviously the younger generation who's probably, I guess, 21 to maybe 30 will be really around it. So it will become more normalized. But that makes sense to me that maybe the younger women are better.
Yeah, and it's just happening really fast and it's happening like right now and there's a lot of younger people that are getting involved in sports betting and you're seeing it in colleges a lot, on campuses, they're doing a lot of betting related things and so yeah, I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really surprise me. It's I like you said, I think it's just because there's more younger people involved in it. That's probably why we saw such a
Mm-hmm.
big difference. And I think, back in the day as well, there was a very negative gambling did not have a great reputation and I think slowly
Mm-hmm.
but surely it's becoming more positive and people are realizing that it's not the same that it used to be. So I think that helps as well with these
Yeah.
younger people getting involved. So
For sure. And shout out to the person who just said women are smarter with their money. Ha ha ha. That's the last thing we'll say on that. So let's get into some NFL. What do you guys like for this week? Please comment it below. We want to see what you guys are putting money on. And a big thing we need to mention, dogs, 12-4 against the spread, 9 outright victories. Week 2 is known as overreaction week. Does that mean, are you going to hammer the favorites, Liv?
So, here's what makes me nervous, and I'm just going to be transparent. Like you said, 12-4 against the spread for the dogs last week. And I know that personally because 2 of my 3 bets that I cashed in on Sunday were dogs covering the spread. So I know a thing or two about the dogs being super successful in week 1, but I actually do like the favorites this week.
Yep.
Maybe it's because we saw such great performances from these teams. I know, for example, the Cardinals, they were an underdog last week. They're a favorite this week. I just loved the way they played. It has nothing to do with them. Now, a team like the Chiefs, who were favorites in both weeks, that is just because they're the Chiefs and they're super strong and they're, a great team. But with the Cardinals, they started off as the underdog and now, they're going up against another team and they're not. I think there's Kyler Murray having a great performance and Chandler Jones on defense. I mean, they just had a lot of really, really strong talent showing in week 1. But again, I do worry about the overreaction of coming off of week 1, kind of having that adrenaline and being like, oh my God, they look so good. But I do like favorites. The 3 bets that I have that aren't, I have 1 total and I have 3 bets, 1 being the one that we have together, but then 2 more are favorites. So it does make me a little bit nervous, but I
feel like it has to swing this week in terms of the favorites. And I know that Cody Hanley had said Bengals, and then Kobe Kenny had said Bengals, but scared that's too public. Now, in this situation, I said yesterday that I really liked them +3. It's now moved to +1.5. It's the only dog that are like, so betting on the favorites this week, there is no shame. So Liv, I need to hear your exact favorites that you're liking.
Yes. So we'll get to the one that we have together in a bit, but I just talked about the Chiefs -3.5. Like I said, they looked really great in week 1. Chandler Jones on defense. Kyler Murray looked awesome. Lots of playmakers on that team that I just think are going to be hard to stop. Really, really liking them. Also really liking the Saints. They're valued at -3.5, I believe. And so I'm excited. Those are the 2 teams favorites wise that I'm looking at. I'm going to look at the slate really quick and see if there's anything else that pops out.
I'm looking down the slate right now. Somebody just said, I got a question. I usually wait till last minute to put bets in. I guess that's bad because the line changes. So personally for me, I think the best bets are around Wednesday morning, Tuesday, because I had posted that video about the Bengals yesterday morning and the line already changed so much. And then I know Liv had put out a tweet this morning. She had talked about the Cardinals -3.5 currently. This morning it was at -4.5. Same thing for the Saints, -4.5. Both those lines going back to 3.5. For me with the Saints Panthers, there's something about that line that scares me. I kind of think it might be a trap game only because, again, I think the line should be longer. Same situation last week as the Green Bay Packers, which I had talked about.
Right.
This should be so much longer than the Panthers, but maybe the book is factoring we don't want to overreact and make it -5.5, something like that. But Sam Darnold didn't show me anything great for Carolina. But I do agree with you in terms of the Cardinals -3.5. For the Vikings, they always play well at home. I never like betting on them when they are on the road.
Well, and the Vikings, to be honest with you, to me, were kind of a nightmare. I mean, losing to the Bengals, in OT doesn't really make me feel worried when they're going up against the Cardinals, who looked absolutely incredible and shut down the Tennessee Titans. So I really like the Cardinals. If I had to pick a best bet, it would be that one. I also do have a total for this week. It originally opened up at 50.5. And as of this morning, the total had changed to 49.5, I believe. But I like the over in the Eagles 49ers game. The 49ers coughed up 41 points.
That keeps getting better.
And allowed the Lions 33 points. And then you've got the Eagles who had 32 points up against the Falcons. And I know that the Falcons were an absolute disaster, but they still scored very well. I think we see a very highly offensive matchup between the Eagles and the 49ers. So I like the over in that one. And I sweat out an under last weekend. Don't know if I want to do that every NFL Sunday because watching an under is just not fun. It's really just not. It's not how I want to.
I did not take one total last week. I did not take one total. I could not get myself to do it.
The under was not fun to watch, but I do really like the over between the Eagles and the 49ers. So that is the one total that I do like for this week.
Joshua Kunzelman, again, sorry if I butcher your name. Packers Lions over 48.5. My take and advice on betting totals is it's not like betting on the spread. You can wait and you know what number you want to get it at. So you can either take the over quite literally or take the under. So I never really worry about line movement too much. And speaking of line movement, tomorrow we have the Thursday night football matchup, terrible NFC East teams. It's going to be a worse Thursday night football matchup in my eyes. But this total had actually opened up 46.5 back in June, and it's already being bet down to 40.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. So Liv, when you see such a jump like that for people that are tuning in, do you eventually just say, okay, then I'm going to take the over since it's being bet down to 40.5 at this point? Or do you say, okay, everyone's taking the under. Should we keep going under? Because eventually it gets to the point where you're just going to have to take the over.
What I would say when I see that line movement is stay away from it. Because I really did like the under in this matchup. And once it moved down to 40.5, I was like, I'm not touching it. I do not want to touch it. So I actually am staying away from the total. Originally, I did. I really liked the under. I even tweeted about it and said the under in this is the move. I'm staying away from the total. That's me being fully transparent. I will not touch the total in this one because it scares me too much. If I had to pick a lean in this game, I would say I like the Giants in this one, to be honest with you.
Okay. Low points benefit the dogs with points scored, so that could help you.
I think for me, the reason that I'm always all about defense. I love teams that are strong on defense. I think that it's easier for me personally to handicap when I look at strong defense versus strong offense. The Washington football team. Sorry. I was like, what is their mascot? Oh, the football team. Having a little weird
changing soon.
Yeah, I think it is. Having a weird QB situation on this Thursday night football game as well. So a lot of uncertainty there for me. I think the more comfortable bet, in my opinion, is just to go with the Giants, who I know have strong defense, at least to cover the spread. So I'd probably take Giants plus 3.5.
And an interesting stat to kind of back up what you're saying. When two winless teams face off, the road dog is about 65% against the spread over the last decade. And Liv and I are going to do an Instagram live tomorrow, and we'll really get into the Thursday night football game and talk about some of our favorite props, where we have a lead, where we don't. But this is like the worst
It's
Thursday night
horrible.
football game. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm like, can we move on? Let's get to some people in the comments before we leave you guys. Also, odds boost tomorrow. Daniel Jones to have 1+ passing touchdown in each half versus the Washington football team. It's at plus 360 right now. And let's just, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do the girls who bet best bet. Liv, unveil it for us.
It is the Chiefs minus 3.5 up against the Ravens, who just suffered a pretty tough loss to the Raiders on the road. I mean, the reality is, I talked about this a little bit on my Instagram story yesterday, but the reality is you have a Chiefs team coming off of a full week of rest. I know that one day doesn't seem like a big deal, but coming off of a full week of rest and a win, and they are also healthy. You've now got the Ravens, on the other hand, who are coming off of a pretty tough loss, and their roster is very, very injured. I have a little fact for you. I'm running it all the way back to 1999, but John Harbaugh, coach of the Baltimore Ravens, since 1999 is 6-8 following Monday Night Football games. But even worse, he is 1-4 following Monday Night Football games that the Ravens lose. 1-4. So doesn't make me want to lay any money with the Ravens at all. So I'm liking the Chiefs, and I know you are too. If you want to explain a little bit why you like them, but I think Chiefs minus 3.5 is the move for us.
So if you got this bet back in June, it was -1 when it opened. So if you got that June 28th, I believe is when it posted, kudos to you. It moved up to -2.5 earlier this week on Monday, I believe. So I was like, you know what? I should take this now because if the Ravens move tonight, it is going to move out. So then it moved to -3 by Tuesday morning. I actually got it at -3, but Liv and I's best bet is going to be -3.5 because I completely agree with you. They're healthy compared to the Ravens, who just gave a bunch of trends that make a lot of sense to kind of go with the Chiefs in this situation. I think the way they came out against the Browns and being down, able to come back, obviously being at home is an advantage. But they do have all the pieces. Maybe they're just shaking off the rust. You know, they had that loss in the Super Bowl. They couldn't lose 2 straight. I couldn't see Patrick Mahomes letting that happen. The Browns had such a lead, too, that I have Baker Mayfield as winning the MVP. But if he's playing like that and losing games at the end, he's not going to win it. But nonetheless, I think the Chiefs is the girls who bet best bet -3.5. Are you fading us or are you riding with us? Please comment it below and start throwing in any questions that you have before we wrap up and some other teams that you were looking at. I know somebody, Liv, had, which I can't find it because some of these are coming in quickly, the Cowboys as their dog. I know you tweeted earlier that you like them as one of the dogs this week.
I did. Yes, I did. So it really hurts me.
You've been doing the faith and Cowboys, so I was surprised you even tweeted this out. I was like, maybe she'll just stay away from it this week.
But you know what? One thing you should know about me is I like to run my mouth. I'm an open book. I call it like I see it. I tell it how it is, but I am also willing to admit when I need to swallow my words. And I do believe that I owe the Dallas Cowboys fan base and the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott a little apology because there is no sugarcoating this. There's no walking around it. The Cowboys looked great. Dak Prescott had nearly 400 passing yards up against the strongest defense in the NFL. They looked awesome. They kept the game close. They ruined my bet. I had the Bucks to cover. They absolutely told me to F off. They must have tuned in to Girls Who Bet or something because they told me to F off. And I am willing to swallow my words and say, I think that the Cowboys look really awesome. I think it's worth noting that they played very strong on both sides of the ball. I do think that their defense fell apart to me in the second half. I think they got a little weak on defense, but to me, that is a very minor fix compared to some of the changes that these other teams are going to have to make coming off of week one. The Cowboys have a lot to be proud of. They looked
And more rest.
awesome against the reigning Super Bowl champions. They looked great. Dak Prescott, as far as we can see, is healthy. And you wouldn't have, if I would have watched him again with no background knowledge, I would not have thought he was injured last season. He looked like Dak Prescott. I had no concerns about him. So, yes, I'm swallowing my words. And if I had to go with an underdog this week, I would go with the Cowboys. I think this is kind of their bounce back week to shake off that tough loss because they really, really held their own against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
Yes,
I like them to just kind of give it to them and take a win here. So who knows? I may swallow my words.
Chargers line keeps moving out. I actually ended up putting something on my Instagram story saying take the Chargers last week because everyone on
the panel
on the panel had taken Washington team, and I was like, oh no. And you know those posts go viral. But let's get to some other questions. Thoughts on the Patriots? I believe the line is -5. Let me quickly just find that game. -5.5 right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. This is going to be Mac Jones versus Zach Wilson. They'll be playing in New York. I wish I had a lead on this, but honestly, they're both rookie quarterbacks. I think the Patriots will be able to win. Maybe if you want to throw -260 into some type of parlay, it's not like you're taking the Chiefs with the parlay -1200 or anything like that, but which typically -1200, it's not for the Ravens game. But in general, Liv, do you think Mac Jones versus Zach Wilson? Do you have a lean?
I'd have to go with Mac Jones.
I feel like I don't like 5.5. I don't like that number at all.
To be honest with
this could be like a field goal type situation.
Full transparency, though, I will not lay my money on that game. I will not personally lay my money.
I'm not touching that game.
If you're asking me, I mean, Erin said it best. 2 rookie QBs, no thanks. I'm good. I'll wait a few more weeks.
There's so many other games.
There's so many other games to look at. I would not put my money on a game where there's 2 rookie quarterbacks playing one another. Again, that doesn't mean it's not going to be a good football game. It just means I personally will not put money on it. If I had to lean, I would go with Mac Jones.
And I feel like that's a good point in terms of betting in general. You don't have to bet the entire board. You can find where you want to bet on, kind of hone in on certain games. That's what I do Monday. I look at the slate. Honestly, week 3 is already up, so I was looking at that today as well. If there's a game I just don't want to bet on or don't want to watch, I for sure don't put money on. Maybe I'll grab an anytime touchdown score, which I've been actually very good at lately.
You have.
Except for Watkins, I didn't get for the Eagles. I was looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm excited for NFL week 2. I feel like week 1 was good. A lot of dogs, a lot of good things. I hope there's a lot of upsets this week. I think some favorites are really going to dominate. We'll see if we overreacted. If we didn't, Thursday Night Football, terrible. But Liv and I will be talking about that again on the Instagram Live.
Yes, tomorrow night I will be coming from the Volume Instagram. Erin will be coming from the FanDuel Sportsbook Instagram. I believe it is 7:30 Eastern time. We'll be live on Insta, just taking questions. Giving you our Thursday night football bets, although it is a tragic matchup tomorrow night. We will make the most of it. We will find bets that we like and we will share them with you. So make sure you're tuning in on Instagram, personal IG and Twitter handles at Liv Moods on just about everything. And Erin is
at Erin K. Dolan on literally every single solitary social media. But guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all your questions. We hope that we helped you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Episode 3 next week, next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Liv and I will see you there.
Bye, guys.
See ya.